Good morning. It is Monday, December 28th, 2020, almost 2021. It's 2:29 a.m. I'm on my way to the gym right now. You know, one thing that I've learned, not so much through experiences, but experiences taught me that it's the right thing. But through being around and surrounding yourself with the right people is one, how to run a successful business. Two, how to have a successful family. Three, how to take information that you may be aware of. Like, I remember times when you'd be, think about junior high or high school. If somebody told you, hey, such and such said something about you. Now, I know for me, I grew up, I got in a fight all the time. I mean, first day of school, I got in a fight. It didn't matter. I had one of those very hair trigger, whatever the case I'm trying to say. I had one of those very short fuses. And it was almost like I had a chip on my shoulder I was daring you to knock off. And if somebody said, hey, such and such said something about you, it didn't take but 5 seconds for me to react. And from what was said to me, from what was said to my process time to my action was all of a couple minutes. And it always got me in trouble. It never failed. It always got me in some kind of crazy trouble. So I remember one of my mentors saying, in between decisions, I'm going to take 24 to 48 hours to make a decision. And some things require a faster response time. Most things will give you the opportunity for that 24 to 48 hour window. And what I've realized is, especially when dealing with family, is that if you give yourself that window of opportunity to absorb what was said, to absorb or to come up with a game plan on what to do, especially if it's one where there is emotions attached to it. Especially when there's emotion attached to it. That space, and I really hope somebody hears this. And if you were wondering what I was doing, I had a thought and an idea, so I was writing it down in my journal. That space will give you the opportunity to have a non-confrontational conversation. You see, what I've noticed is that most of the time family can't ever talk, meaning stuff just gets kind of swept under the rug, because they know that when they react to a situation that needs to be dealt with, it's usually reacted with emotions. It's typically reacted with emotions. And when you have emotions versus logic and reasoning involved in the equation, then you have the propensity to not handle it with the dignity and the respect the situation demands. And so when I give myself that gap, that space, that time, especially when it's important, that I can sit down at the table with another individual and I can formulate a sentence that doesn't sound accusing, but allows to potentially get to the heart of the problem. And so giving yourself that time could prove to be a valuable asset, because you got to remember something. You could say something really fast that could end up hurting everything, and then that time you were trying to save from getting from reaction to reaction to reaction could cost you years. In some relationships that I've had where there's been more emotion spoke than reasoning and understanding, there's been gaps of 5, 6, 7 years of no conversation, and then when you come back together, you're like, why did we miss so much time? Well, we missed so much time because we reacted emotionally to something versus something that should have been acted on with some type of intentions and purpose. And so I can save myself 24 to 48 hours is a small price to pay in time, when they could potentially save you years of hurt feelings. And when raising kids and having family along that lines, it becomes equally as important, because you need your kids to start understanding how to communicate with other people. You need your kids to start learning how to communicate with family, and not in a way where it derives anger and fear and hurt emotions, but in a way where all cool, calmer heads can actually have a conversation and come together. And at the end of the day, that's what it's really about. That 100% is what it's really about. It's trying to bring it together. And if you can master the 24 to 48 hour rule before you engage in something that's pretty important, conversation that maybe needs to happen, I promise you, God will deliver you the right words to say so that what you say will be received.